Troy, it probably seems like you just got going and now you're already done playing for the Bobcats and on the next stage of your career. But I'm wondering, when you think back over your long athletic career, growing up in Dillon, you played so many different sports, you were into so many different things. When did you realize that football was your sport and that you were good at it, maybe not in an NFL way, but in a way, maybe a little better than the average kid on the playgrounds in Dillon?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we had flag football from like first grade through eighth grade, and we had tackle football starting in seventh. But before that, it was, basketball and baseball. And we had a pretty good basketball team. Like we'd travel the state and, win tournaments and stuff. I think basketball is probably my favorite until we got to tackle football. And then once you can tackle people, football becomes way more fun. And then in high school, I think football was fun as well. Probably equally with basketball. We had some really good teams in Dillon. And then when it got to college, it was football. There's 22 guys on the field at a time. And basketball, there's 10. And so just numbers-wise for college, I had the opportunity to come here and play early and have a lot of fun. And I think that probably, seventh grade or so, I was pretty set on football.
Dillon has been such a tremendous sports town, youth sports, high school sports. What about growing up in Dillon has allowed so many kids to go on and thrive in college athletics?
I think there's great people that surround it. I think there's always been good coaches in Dillon and around Dillon, in all levels. And then that kind of just breeds success of its own. Like when you are successful, it makes the kids that are younger than you. I remember looking up to, the Thomas brothers and Zach McCray and Wes Knox and those type of people, and see them win state championships. And it's like, man, I want to do that someday. And so it just drives you to, I guess, to work hard and try to achieve those goals.
You grew up in a Bobcat family, and you've said that you always have cheered for the Bobcats. When you're into so many sports activities and other activities when you're growing up, you don't always have time to get to every game or to watch every game. But what are your memories of the Bobcats when you were growing up? Probably Cat-Griz games, but what do you remember about Montana State football and maybe favorite players or favorite moments?
Yeah, came over to a few games growing up, basketball games, football games. I remember sitting in the end zone in the old bleachers, back when the stadium looked significantly different. And yeah, it was awesome, watching Denarius and Cody Kirk. I guess those two are the names that, I remember the most vividly. It was awesome. Obviously the Cat-Griz games, you'd always, RJ and I had a rivalry growing up because he was the other guy fan, he was the Grizzly fan, and I was a Cat fan, and then obviously we got him switched over to the right side eventually. It was a lot of fun.
There are so many reasons that this rivalry and this state are unique, but one of them you mentioned is the Cat-Griz rivalry. Another one is that the two Division I programs in this state, in football especially, is such a melting pot. You get to play with kids from all over the country and all over the state, from small towns and big cities. What about that experience do you think you truly enjoyed playing football here at Montana State?
Yeah, I think it was great. Like you said, it's a lot of kids from, Dillon, Missoula, Bozeman, Billings, small towns. What's Trayton from Sunburst? Like super small towns, Ennis. And then it's, the LA, the Texas, Florida, and to have kind of everybody come together and achieve collective goals and work hard with one another, and form, lifelong friendships with people from all walks of life has been awesome. I lived with James Campbell in my freshman year of the dorms, and James and I are going to be close for the rest of our lives. It's something that I've really appreciated.
Think back to the summer of 2017, and I remember Coach Choate talking about what to do with Troy Andersen, whether he's going to be a running back or a linebacker, offense, defense, all the different possibilities. And it was really a situation that the coaches seemed to be sort of talking themselves through from the end of the previous semester on. What do you remember hearing about your role during that summer, maybe summer workouts, and then the beginning of fall camp, conversations you had with coaches and Coach Choate about what was expected of you in the fall of 2017?
I thought I was going to play defense. I guess I talked to Coach Gregorak quite a bit, and he's like, "Hey, you're gonna play linebacker for us." I was like, "Oh, sweet! Like that'll be fun." And then a couple days before fall camp, I got switched to running back, and went through fall camp as that, and then kind of bounced around a little bit that year. But I don't know. I was just doing what the coaches told me, do whatever I could.
You obviously are a very intelligent person and football intelligent as well. And I'm wondering what the transition was like when you had your mindset on one thing and you actually played both ways that year. You played a little linebacker, you played a lot of running back, Big Sky freshman of the year. But how did you balance those things in terms of learning different positions, a brand new scheme, learning what college football is all about, the physical part of that, and balancing probably all those sort of conflicting things that might have been pulling you different directions?
Yeah, I think the coaches did a great job, like the older guys. I remember Dillon Mahoney, my freshman year, after a fall camp practice, calling me aside, and he's just like, "Hey man, like, we'll help you," type thing. This isn't high school anymore. And just having those guys to rely on was awesome, and the coaches did a good job of making sure I knew what was going on. And I thought it was normal. I played both ways in high school. I just didn't really realize that it didn't happen that often at the college level, I guess.
The physical part of it that fall, do you remember it being a particular toll on you, playing both ways and taking all those hits? Or was that something that came pretty natural and pretty easy to you?
I didn't really think about it. I remember fall camp, I was the most tired I've ever been in my life. I get back to the dorms and you're instantly out, and it's like that, and you're waking up and doing it all over again. But that happens to everybody, their first fall camp, I think. And just take it day by day and try to survive.
Fast forward 9 months to a year, and it's the spring of 2018, and the news comes that Chris Murray is no longer in the program, and all of a sudden rumors start to go around that it's going to be Troy Andersen. And through the summer, Coach Cho was a little bit elusive, but towards fall camp, he sort of confirmed that was the plan. What do you remember from that time range about the conversations and the learning curve in terms of moving from running back to quarterback?
Yeah, I was driving home in the month of May, and Cho called me, and he's like, "Hey, this is a situation. Just start throwing the ball just in case." I was like, "Okay." He says like, "Oh, Chris has a couple classes left. He'll probably be fine." So I kind of believed him. So I think I threw the ball like once. And then, Chris ended up failing out, and we had like the summer camps, the high school camps. And Coach Cole at the time, he used that as like QB work for me. It was like, sorry, high school kids, like Troy's working right now. And so I was throwing the ball a little bit and still was hoping that somebody, I guess, else would, be the quarterback. But I don't know, I didn't do whatever, I guess, do whatever they wanted me to. And, if you're the quarterback, you have an impact on the game, and the team wanted me to do that. Coaches wanted me to do that. I was happy to.
Did you enjoy playing quarterback that year, or was that more just sort of other duties that is assigned? How did you, when you look back, how do you fit that into your career here?
I mean, it was fun. It was challenging, but it was fun. I think it helped me become a way better football player, like just learning how to watch film and, understand spatial awareness and full schemes. Things that I still rely on, I guess, like playing defense. But yeah, it was hard. Like, obviously the physical aspect of that year, we ran the ball quite a bit, and I ran the ball quite a bit. But it was fun. It was great to be, a part of that team that made it back to the playoffs and won a game, and, have all those guys that, always count on it, the O-line, and Sully and Wilson and all those type of players, to be able to play with them and, be their quarterback was fun.
So you think back to that time, and we all think about the win in Missoula. So I've got to ask you about that. But first, talk about the few games leading up to that, because you kind of think about that season as one big ascent to the couple of great moments in November and December, but there were some choppy waters along the way.
Yeah, that was about the worst. That 2-week stretch of Idaho State and Weber, that was like the worst stretch of, college football that I had. I think everybody had, that Montana State's had in the last few years. Just we drove to both of those places, and then we lost both. And we probably should have won. It was pretty frustrating. And yeah, I mean, to drop 2 at that point, we were, all right, we're going to make the playoffs if we win, 2 or 3 type thing. And then had to win the Cat-Griz to even have a chance to make it to the playoffs. Yeah, that was not very fun couple weeks, I guess.
And then the week leading up to the Cat-Griz game, one of the memorable quotes I've ever encountered here was the year later, 2019, when someone asked Braden Conkle when he knew the Cats were going to beat the Grizzlies, and I think the answer that was expected was, second, third quarter, and he said Sunday. So I want to know, leading up into the 2018 game, what the emotions were like, what the expectations were like. Was there a calmness in the team? Was there a feeling that, yeah, we got this, or here's what we got to do to have this? Leading up to that game, what were the emotions like inside the program?
I mean, the emotions that week are always heightened, I guess. It just means so much for the program and the state. And I guess that just elevates your intensity at practice, and everybody kind of, does extra and shows up earlier and stays later, cares, seems like a little more. It's like we always say take it day by day and, work as hard as you can every day, but it's a little easier to do Cat-Griz week. And going into that game, I think that, we had a good game plan, and it was, all right, just go execute and things will happen on our side, I guess.
So the first 25 minutes of that game was like a lightning strike. I think we were all pretty much in shock and back on our heels. And then you scored the touchdown right before halftime. So what were the emotions leading into the half, at halftime, and then coming out of the locker room? What was the talk amongst the guys like in terms of, we're still in this thing?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I've said it before. I didn't really realize that we were down, whatever it was, 22-0. Mm-hmm. I remember watching them score the first touchdown. I was like, all right, well, we got to go get one. And then somehow they scored 2 more in between that. But yeah, the one right before half was big, just kind of confidence and, all right, this is still a manageable game. And we went into the locker room and there was no panic. It was like, all right, let's get to work.
As you've thought about that game here in the last couple of years, there were so many iconic moments. The touchdown you scored with the quiet sign, and then Logan Jones's touchdown, the turnover in between, where I think it was Braden had the football between his legs and he had to reach down and grab it. How do you process all the things that went wrong in the first half balanced against all the things that had to go right for the Bobcats after that?
Yeah, I don't really remember the first half, I guess. It's like, it is what it is. Once those plays are over, can't dwell on them. And it's like, what do we got to do to get ourselves in a position to win? And it was, we started running a little more option in the second half and gave them some trouble in some of the zones read stuff. Gave them a lot of trouble, and we started gashing them. And then our defense got a couple turnovers, and it was, when defense, we kind of had to feed off them and lift them up because they were, playing hard for us. And they get you a turnover, you better go score. So, it was, kind of feed off each other, and, it was good.
A lot of, the statistics people in football will tell you that momentum is not really a thing in sports. It's really just executing and next play, and coaches probably try to ingrain that in athletes too. But could you feel momentum in the second half of that game? Is that something that on the sidelines you guys can really sort of latch onto and ride?
I think a little bit. I think to a certain extent. It was just things started happening for us, and I don't know if it was, momentum per se, or if we were just executing better and like playing a little more free and loose. But yeah, once we kind of got the offense rolling, and that helps the defense when they don't have to play, back-to-back series when we go 3 and out or whatever. I guess there is a certain aspect of momentum, but in the moment, you don't really think about it.
Yeah. The goal line stand, what do you remember about that last series, that last play? Where did you watch? Where did you see it from? What did you see from ground level?
So I walked to the far end of the box, like the back, the opposite 20, 25 or whatever. And I didn't watch the first one when we called the timeout, and I heard them cheering, and I was like, oh, man. I was like, I better watch the second one. Jinx myself the first one. I watched the second one and just saw like mass carnage. Just saw a ball pop out, and then Conkle's in the middle of the field, Derek was in the middle of the field, like holding it up, and I was just, it was insane. Like find somebody to, hug, and then I was like, oh, there's time left. I have to go take a knee, and I mean, yeah, it was incredibly exciting, I guess.
One of the great what goes around comes around moments in Bobcat football history since I've been around is the fact that on the very next scrimmage play that Montana ran, Derek Marks recovered another fumble. And I was in visiting with Jacque about that just recently. He said he had no clue he knocked the ball out until he watched it on film. When you think about the first play of the 2019 Cat-Griz game that ended up as a Bobcat wipeout, maybe the same question that Braden answered in the postgame. When did you know that things were going to kind of fall Montana State's way that day?
Yeah, I mean, I think, like, I didn't get to play in that game, but watching them practice, again, it was, probably Monday, Tuesday type, just how intense they were and how well they were executing at that point in the year. I don't think, anybody would have beat us that day.
You weren't going to play the COVID season anyway while you were getting ready for 2021 season. But what was that year like, being not really within the structure of a normal football season with game practice and game and film and all that sort of thing? What was that like to be part of with all those guys that you'd really grown up with as brothers here in the previous 4 years?
Yeah, it was strange not being able to play and practice, I guess. But it was a lot more of building relationships, and you say you're a brotherhood but it's easy when you're forced to be in meetings every single day and be out at practice. But when you kind of have that taken away, it's like, oh man, I actually enjoy hanging out with these guys, and they are my, my brothers and my teammates. And to be able to, go to the lake or go golfing or go fishing with all those guys and really kind of solidify those bonds. I mean, it was a terrible year because we had to miss football, but it was awesome to kind of, further and develop those friendships and relationships.
When you think about, you were technically a 3-time team captain, 19, the 20 missed season, and then 21. When you think about the lessons you've learned in leadership through that time, I know Coach Choate and then Coach Vigen were both very intentional about coaching and teaching leadership into building a player-led program. But what lessons about leadership do you think you have now that you take with you into your next phase of the journey that maybe you didn't know about or understand fully in 2017, 2018?
Man, I think you can do it your own way. There's not a certain set way to be a leader. You can do it, be the vocal rah-rah guy, or you can do it behind the scenes. And then it's just, Choate always stressed how important relationships were. And it's easy to say, but kind of like I just touched on, it's harder to put into action. And to have a relationship with everybody on the team and kind of have that, ability to connect with them. And then once you have that relationship, it's way easier to lead people and they're more willing to be led. I guess, that's how, when people try to lead me, if you don't know them, it's a little bit like, okay, I guess I'll feel it out type thing. But when you have that relationship, you're like, let's go. Like, sounds good. So,
when you think about February of 2021, brand new coaching staff, not new coaching staff, but certainly a new head coach. You're figuring out a little bit of a new position. You go through a conventional spring football, which you really hadn't been through under Coach Choate, and then summer workouts into fall camp, and then things really start cooking. You get a near win at Wyoming, and you go on a long winning streak. You had the Troy season, the awards that we call them, the trip to Vegas, and those different things, and the run through the playoffs. Does that even now seem like kind of a whirlwind to you? And how do you, what were the highlights of that whole period for you?
Yeah, it was crazy. When Choate left and Vigen got here, it was, a lot of transition and new faces and kind of a new way of doing things. And everybody was, trying to figure it out, I guess, coaches included. And so it was challenging for the first little bit. And then, once you got to know them and got running and got to actually playing football again, it was really smooth. I mean, everybody was on that, same mission, and knew we had a good team. I mean, I've said that. It's like we knew we had a good team in 2020 if we would have played, and it was just another year of, kind of cementing that and preparing and getting ready. And yeah, I mean, the season this year was awesome. It was a whirlwind from last February to now. It seems like it was, a month, but it was a great year.
You're not a guy that enjoys talking about yourself much and being the focus of attention, but you were kind of forced into that situation in a non-football way with all the awards and honors and FCS Defensive Player of the Year. Was that something that you really had to sort of step outside your comfort zone to handle? How did you handle all of that extra stuff that you don't really sign up for?
Yeah, I mean, it's cool. I guess it's cool. I appreciate, people patting me on the back, but I guess I don't really care about it. I view it as, man, if Callahan's not next to me doing what he's supposed to do, I can't make my play. If Chase Benson's not, two-gapping and dominating up front, then I can't do what I'm supposed to do. If the back end's not doing what they're supposed to do, I can't. So I think it's like all that stuff. It's cool, but it's kind of a team thing. If you don't have a good team around you, it doesn't matter how good individually you are. You can kind of get blotted out.
We started the conversation talking about your early days in football and your time growing up as a Bobcat fan. And I want to bring it around to that because you spent 5 years in this program as maybe arguably the most impactful player it's ever had. And so I'd love to know what Bobcat football meant to you in August of 2017, and now in 2022 as you get ready to go on to different things. Like, how do you explain Bobcat football maybe to a future teammate or to a media person who asks, tell me about Bobcat football? How do you explain what it means, what it is in this state, and what the experience meant to you?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I think as a freshman coming in, you have no clue. Oh, this is football, like just at a bigger level. And then once you kind of get ingrained in it and meet the people and kind of get a hold of the place, and Bozeman and all the guys you came in with and the guys that were older than you and younger than you, and it's just it's a true family, I guess I'd say. You go to work every single day. It's crazy. Where else in the world do you work 300 plus days? I mean, extremely hard to go perform 11 guaranteed times. It's kind of, I don't know, it's unique in that way. It's like basketball has 25 plus games, and it's just to be with the same people towards the same goal the entire time. It's unique, and I think that's why, you have to actually love everything that comes with football. You can love the Saturdays, but you got to love the people and the grind and the work and the weight room and, the school and everything that comes with it. And I think that, throughout my time, I've come to appreciate all of that and come to appreciate the place and the people. It means a lot to me. I can't wait to, I'm proud to be an alum, and I can't wait to come watch Bobcat games in the future. Like, that's just, I'm always going to be around, and I'm excited for that.
I've got to ask you about the last couple months and the combine and all the draft talk and the, just sort of the buzz leading up to the NFL draft, where you sort of strangely, your future's decided for you, right? What has that process been like? What lessons have you brought with you from that process? And is it sort of surreal to live a childhood dream?
Yeah, definitely is. It's been another whirlwind of a few months. I mean, go down to the Senior Bowl and you're playing against like Alabama and LSU. And I think that was actually a really good confidence boost. I've said it, we play pretty good football here, and it's, I fit in fairly well down there, and I think a lot of our guys would too. It was, a lot of fun, and going to the combine and be able to compete. It's like I've watched the combine growing up. You always watch the 40s and, the verticals and the bench press and stuff. And it was cool to be there and to walk past all the, the coaches and the players. It's kind of crazy, I guess, to say that I'm going to have an opportunity, hopefully, to go on and play at the next level. Watching, football on Sunday growing up was something I did every week. And, to have the opportunity to play where it's the best in the world is, it's pretty unique and cool.
Well, it's been a thrill to watch you from a very good seat, a good vantage point, and I know that every Bobcat fan feels the same way, and we look forward with great pride to what's next for you, and we can't wait to watch. And with Troy Andersen, I'm Bill Lamberty.